Have you ever wanted to cancel your Uber ride, but you were afraid that you were going to get charged for the ride if you did? Let's talk about it. Welcome everyone. I'm Mark. This is Mark's Travel Time, and it's Joe time. And for those of you who are new to the channel and may not know what Joe time is, it's when you and I grab a hot cup of Joe. It doesn't have to be coffee. You can have some tea, hot chocolate, whatever it might be. And we sit across the table from one another and we have a discussion. Now, you don't have to have the official Joe time mug to participate, but it doesn't hurt. All right, this story is going to start with dinner. Last Saturday night, my wife and I went out to dinner with some friends, and they were telling us a story of when they were recently in Seattle. And they said they had the worst Uber ride. Let me tell you what transpired. First of all, they ordered the Uber, and they said the ride was, I don't remember if it was 20 or 25 minutes away. I think it was 20. Well, right there, my radar went up because I've spent quite a bit of time in Seattle, and there are a lot of rideshare cars driving around Seattle, based on my experience. The first thing I would have done in that instance is I would have canceled immediately, and I would have hit the request again to see if I could have gotten a ride that was closer. I've done that, and as a matter of fact, I'll link to a video where I talk about my experience in Iowa City, where I did that precise thing, and I ended up getting not only a ride that was much closer to me, but was cheaper as well. So let's go on with our story. So they got the ride 20 minutes away. They said as they were watching, they saw it went to 25 minutes, and 30, and 35, and they were getting frustrated. That's good coffee. So at this point, I asked them, why didn't you cancel? And they said, well, I didn't want to get charged. That's what we're going to come back to. So it gets worse. They started trying to call their driver to say, hey, what's going on? Are you delayed? Are you going to be here? 3 times they tried to call. 3 times they were hung up on. They said, he picked up, and they hung up. I said, are you sure you weren't just getting a bad connection? And they said, well, they kind of heard background noise, but picked up and hung up 3 times. At that point, I absolutely would have canceled. Then they said the guy finally arrived, and when they got to their destination, they said he hardly slowed down. He said, get out. And they said, well, aren't you going to pull over to the curb? No, it's okay. Get out here. And they got out in the middle of a busy street. Now I'm thinking to myself, wow. This is the type of driver that not only riders don't want to have on the road, but other drivers don't want to hear this story because it tarnishes all of Uber and all Uber drivers. So let's look at what our options were. First of all, as I said, I asked them, why don't you just cancel? And the response was, well, I didn't want to pay for the ride. First of all, if you cancel, you will never pay for the entire ride. You might pay a cancellation fee. But given the circumstances, you could have challenged that. You could have put in a request for a refund, and I am pretty sure Uber would have given it. Uber tends to, when all else is equal, Uber does tend to side with the passenger. Now, I know a lot of times drivers don't like that, but that is what tends to happen. So let's take a look at Uber's policy as it deals with cancellations. On an Uber pool trip, it says you canceled more than 1 minute after your driver accepted. So if you wait more than a minute on a pool, you can get charged. Or your driver canceled after waiting at your pickup location for more than 2 minutes. If either of those things happen, if you cancel under a minute after requesting the pool ride, you won't get charged. And if your driver cancels and doesn't wait at least 2 minutes, you won't get charged. Let's go on. On non-Uber pool trips, which this one was, you will be charged if you cancel 2 minutes after your driver accepted. So you have a 2-minute window. If you see there's shenanigans and hijinks going on within 2 minutes, you can cancel. And according to Uber's terms of service, you will not get charged for that ride. And then it says your driver canceled after waiting at least 5 minutes. So if they wait longer than 5 minutes, you might get charged a cancellation fee. So let's read on. In some cases, your cancellation fee will be based on how far your driver has already driven. Now, that has happened to me, and that might have happened in this circumstance. One time I can think of, I was in Long Island, and my rider was taking a really long time, or my driver rather, and I was looking at the app, and it did not look like they were moving. I tried to cancel, and it said, you'll be charged for this ride. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Okay, I may have waited longer than the 2 minutes, but the driver was not moving. They weren't making any progress in my direction. I didn't cancel, but I suspect if I had, I could have had a pretty good case about getting a refund, because I would have taken a screenshot and said, well, look at this. I've been waiting longer than 2 minutes and they have not moved. So you could challenge in that situation. With my friends, when the wait went from 20 minutes to 25 to 30, if they would have screenshotted that as it jumped, even just 2 times, they could have said, look at this. The ride is already 5 minutes late, and the person hasn't even moved. You could have challenged that. A cancellation fee won't apply. Here we go. When will it not apply? If we detect your driver hasn't made progress to your pickup location, or if your driver is 5 or more minutes late. And that is precisely what happened in their case. Once again, if they haven't made progress and the driver is 5 or more minutes late. The caveat here is it says if we detect the driver hasn't made progress. So if they don't recognize it, that screenshot will really help. Just take a screenshot very quickly and save it, and show that, hey, we've been waiting and they have not made progress. That way you have a defendable case for a refund. The cancellation fee is only going to be a few dollars, maybe $5 at most. So some people might say it's not worth the time to get a refund. But as I said, Uber does tend to side with the passenger, especially if there's evidence that, hey, I've waited longer than I should have, or that driver was not making progress. Let's look a little deeper on what it says about cancellations. It says, do you think you were charged for a complete fare even though the ride was canceled? That's what my friend was concerned with. What looks like a charge on the trip is likely an authorization hold. Now, when you rent a car, oftentimes when you stay in hotels, they will put a hold on some money. Whenever I rent cars, they almost always put a $200 hold in case there's damage and they don't want to have trouble recovering. So they often will put a hold. And that's what Uber is saying was done on your credit card or in your app. An authorization hold is a temporary hold equal to the amount of the upfront fare shown in your app that Uber may place on your payment method when you request a trip. So if it says it's going to be $35, they may hold that $35 even if you're canceled. It doesn't mean you're going to be charged. What it means, it's an authorization. It's a hold, and that could come off your card, could come off your account, especially if you challenge it. The temporary holds allow us to protect against fraud from unauthorized card usage and should not actually be charged to your account. So they're coming right out and saying that. While these holds are immediately voided on our end, they say immediately, but it takes 3 to 5 days for it to reflect back in your account. All right? So don't assume because you canceled and it looks like you're charged for the whole ride, don't assume that you were. But I wouldn't wait the 3 to 5 days. I would still contact Uber. How do you do that? If you believe you're incorrectly charged a cancellation fee, fill out the form below and we'll be in touch to help. And they give a link. I'll give that link down below. You have to be logged in, but I'll give the link where I'm getting this information. But you can also do that in the app. When you click on that ride and it said, I have an issue with the ride, and it gives you 3 or 4 things, and right there in the app, you can explain what your issue is, and you may get an immediate refund. What would I have done in the case my friend was telling me about? Well, I already indicated. If I saw in a city like Seattle that the initial wait was 20 to 25 minutes, I would have immediately canceled. As soon as that popped up, within 5 seconds, I would have canceled and resent that ride to see if I could get someone closer. And as I said, sometimes you even get a cheaper ride as well. But 20 to 25 minutes just seems like a long period of time in Seattle. My experience has been there are a lot of Uber drivers in Seattle. If that rider would have failed to respond to my phone call, I would have canceled that ride immediately. Now, I've heard from Uber drivers that say, I never respond to texts or phone calls. Well, that's your choice. But I think it's not giving great customer service, because I'm waiting at my hotel or restaurant or wherever it may be, and I see the minutes are going by and the time is going up instead of down. I have the right, I deserve to have my questions answered, especially if I see that you're not making progress. Now, the driver may have a very legitimate reason. There could be construction. There could be an accident. There could be some unavoidable things that are taking place. But I think it's incumbent upon them to at least communicate that to you and allow you to make a decision. Do you want to cancel and get someone else? Or will you say, okay, thanks for letting me know, I will wait. Now, the other thing you can do if you should go through a ride like this is let it be known. Give a low rating. Give a low tip or no tip. And let them know, leave that message. When you give a low rating, it'll ask you why, and you can explain why this happened. Now, I know that I hear a lot of Uber drivers are getting a little upset with what I just said. So let's look at the opposite side of the coin. If the opposite happens, you get a very responsive driver, a good driver, a driver that goes the extra mile, drops you off on a curb, tries to find a good, safe place for you to get out, maybe even helps you with your luggage. Then you should do the opposite. You should leave a good, strong tip. Leave some good comments. Give them a 5-star rating, because it works both ways. And what we'd like to do is weed out the rascals. And we want to encourage the good drivers, because I want every experience I have as a rider to be a positive one. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I reward the good drivers and encourage them to stay at it. And I let the bad drivers know, you're not going to get away with this. Not on my watch. The other thing I do want to point out, as a result of this, on this trip, they ended up hiring a car service. I forgot where they were going, but the Uber would have been $35. They hired a private car for $50. And that driver said, oh, I can pick you back up, and they agreed to it. They could have gotten cheaper. So it's not always about cheaper. It's about what can I rely on? What is dependable for me? They preferred to spend a third more in order to have an assurance that the driver would be there, he'd be polite, and they would be treated with some dignity and respect. So there you go. If you ever have a bad situation with Uber, absolutely, not only can you cancel, but you should, and you probably won't get charged if you do it in that window. If you do get charged, you can certainly contest it. Chances are, if you have a good reason, you'll get that cancellation fee taken off your account. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking my face down there in the corner. And don't forget to ring that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark with Mark's Travel Time.